something, and you can identify it really quickly because, again, classrooms are the same. The way that we approach teaching, the way that we approach pedagogical practices are pretty much philosophically the same. And that really needs to put something like that, really have to make us reflect about what we are doing as educators and what needs to change again. And so in my mind, there is an urgent need to rethink educational processes, right? And that start by continuously asking a question that I really like from Seth Godin, has really good books and talks on this, and what is education for, right? And not only we don't ask that enough, we don't have deep conversations about the purpose of education, but more importantly, we have not even come to agreements on that, and that's really important. And I think that is something that we need to discuss at societal levels, at country levels, at institutional levels, university levels. I've been fortunate enough to travel all over the world to do talks and you know because of my work. And one thing that I have found across the world, in every scenario, not only in education, in politics, in business, in just society, is people will agree that education is the way to transform the world. And people will agree that education is one of the most important things that we need to be investing on. So that I haven't found a single country, person, leader, politician, business leader, CEO that will not agree with that statement. But yet, we are not paying that much attention to education. We are not investing that much money in education, especially in transforming education. I always ask the question, what have been some radical changes in the last 20 years in education? And yes, I know some things have changed and some approaches have been different, but are we really doing things radical? Because, like, if we go, for example, into manufacturing, you will see a lot of radical changes in the way that we did manufacturing 20 years ago to the way that we do it now. Not the case in education. And then connected to that, and like I said a moment ago, you know, what is the purpose of assessment and evaluation? Why are we doing the assessment that we do? What is the purpose? And how are we incorporating all the different forms of excellence, right? And those are questions that we need to not only be thinking about as educators, but we will need to be having critical conversation in institutional settings to really reflect and think about what we're doing and what we need to do. Um, so I also like from Seth Godin, he has this exercise, right? And I've done it many places when I go. And if I ask you, you can think about it or even try to do it yourself. And it's very simple. Yeah, it's an exercise. When I say I'm going to give you an instruction, you go ahead and do it, right? And what I ask people to do is, just raise your hand as you can, right? And people will go ahead and raise their hand, and then you tell them, now raise it a little bit more, and then people will do it, right? And that for me is really interesting, right? And that for me, the way that Godin uses it is, it's a reflection of what we have done with our educational systems and the way that we have trained people. Because again, if I'm telling you, what I'm asking for you is raise your hand as high as you can, and then when I ask you to do it a little bit higher, there is still some space to do that, is only telling me that we've been training people to do the bare minimum to fulfill whatever perception of fulfillment is. Um, and that is really interesting. And I mean, I'm not saying that that's particularly wrong. I just think it's something that we need to be reflecting on, because it makes me think about the difference between students passing a test and students really learning something, right? And that is clear when one of the questions that we get the most as educators is this going to be on the test, right? And again, it's telling me where we're placing the value. I haven't had a student yet that has asked me, how can I learn this better, right? Which is supposed to be the purpose of learning. But then when we place the reward in a grade or in a test or in passing an assignment, then it creates a disconnection from placing the reward or placing the value on actually learning, right? So it makes us think again about how things have been structured. Another exercise that I do, and this one is also fascinates me because of the outcomes, is, I've done this in a lot of different scenarios, and I'm going to tell you where in a moment. But let me tell you about this exercise of this problem first. It's called solving a problem, and what I say is there is a family at the beach right there in the low corner. They need to be back at the hotel. That's the other red circle up there at 7 p.m. What time do they need to leave? The distance from the beach to the hotel is 50 miles, and there is a speed limit there that says 35. Um, and again, I have done this exercise with some of my undergrad students in the first year, some of the senior students in the fourth year. I've done it with some of my master students. I've done it with some of my PhD students. Um, and I've been able to go to my kids' school. Sometimes they invite me to go talk to the kids, and I even was able to do this a couple of times with elementary school kids. Um, and it's fascinating to me the difference between how people respond to this problem depending on the level of education that you're in. When I do it with master or PhD students, especially if they are in engineering, it takes less than a minute for them to give me a response. They will do whatever random calculation in their minds, and they will jump right away and tell me 6:30 something p.m., for example. I don't remember the exact number, right? But again, the senior the student is, and the more they think they know, the quicker they will give me a response. When I do it with kids in elementary school, it's fascinating to me because I will get no less than 20 questions from the kids. And again, it's just fascinating. They will start asking, are they driving? Are they walking? Um, are those two-way streets? Why do they need to be by 7 p.m.? Do they have restaurant reservations? How many people are in the family? Do they have a dog? Is the speed limit in miles per hour or kilometers per hour? Because I see the distances in miles, but I don't see the speed limit has any units. And they keep asking and asking and asking. And that's just they telling me the beauty of kids understanding the importance of learning, because they cannot solve a problem they don't understand. But what happens is when we go into our educational systems, and especially in engineering, we keep telling students they need to be problem solvers. And they become these machines of solving problems and jumping into solving problems. It doesn't matter if I understand it, I need to provide a solution, because then the solution is what becomes important, not the process. And that is a massive problem, because in reality, what matters is the process. And again, in terms of learning, what matters is what we learn and how we learn it, right? And again, I keep thinking about this, and I feel like our kids are very well trained to ask questions, to not jump into solutions, to really think critically about these things. But again, as we keep going higher and higher and higher in higher education, we start incorporating this need to solve the problem, answer the test, get the grade, and do it quickly. And we start missing on how are we critically thinking about this, and more importantly, are we learning something that we will take in our next step? Because I think that should be the goal, right? So because of this and all, and all our questions are of our educational systems, I try to connect back to, okay, what is the purpose of education, right? Why are students here? Why are we here? What are we trying to do? And in my mind, sometimes part of that response
Yeah.
is we need to
Yeah.
train the future professionals, right? One of our goals should be to prepare them for the workforce too, and especially in our field is to create good engineers. So what will it take for them to be successful as engineers and as professionals? So some of what our research says is, you know, a couple of things, right? Um, which mostly have to do with the development of very critical thinking and also very different professional skills. So the technical part is important, of course, but there are so many other things that they need to be prepared on. ethical standards, interdisciplinary competency, having analytical skills, dynamism and resilience, teamwork, agility and flexibility, contextual competence, communication, cultural awareness, business management, leadership, professionalism, creativity, practical ingenuity, right? A lot of different things. And these things are important, but the problem is that most of our educational practices are focusing on the curriculum, on the technical, on checking the box, right? And then it becomes more complex and more difficult to be able to develop all these other competencies that are as important as the other ones, and in some companies and in some cases even more important, because I have a lot of times, and also from my time in industry, and I had a lot of people saying, I can teach the technical. I really want people that are preparing the other aspects that are more difficult to train once you graduate. So that's something that is interesting, and we really need to be reflecting about that. But why is important to think about this? Well, I always try to show these examples as a way of thinking and reflecting of that, right? And what I'm trying to show in these pictures is um, some of the things that some people that went to college with me are doing, because I think that provides a really good understanding on the importance of some of these things. So the first picture is a bunch of logos, and that was sent to me by a colleague a couple of years ago. And again, he went to college with me. He did mechanical engineering, um, and he now, since a couple of years ago, has been working for this massive, large multinational company. But his role is community manager, and what that means is he is in charge of social media presence for the company in all these places that you can see in that picture. And that is just fascinating, because when we were in college, social media didn't exist. As a mechanical engineer, he didn't train for anything related to social media. Um, so he had to learn, right? So that's interesting. The one in the middle, another colleague, industrial engineer colleague, she's working designing wheelchairs for disabled ballet professional dancers. So imagine the complexity of doing that, right? You need to know about mechanical design, but you also need to know about biomedical engineering. You need to know about art. You need to know about dancing. You need to know about staging. So involves a lot of contextual knowledge that, of course, she didn't acquire at the university, and that she has been learning to be able to perform her work. And then the last one is another colleague of mine is working for General Electric, and they are right now 3D printing wind turbines. And again, as context, we didn't have 3D printers when we were in college, right? And that's going to be the reality for most of our students. So when I talk to students, I tell them that, conservatively, um, I anticipate that at least in any room, in any engineering classroom that I visit, I always anticipate that at least 50% of them will be working in industries and with technologies that do not exist when they are in college. And that's something that we really need to be reflecting on, because we need to be able to prepare students, again, to work with technologies and in industries that probably do not exist today. And those gaps are going to be um, even bigger as we move forward, because again, technology is moving at a very fast pace. So how can we prepare them for that? Like, how can we think about developing knowledge where students are able to understand the importance of translating knowledge, the importance of adapting knowledge, the importance of contextualizing knowledge, right? How can we provide them with the tool, again, to learn how to learn? How can we provide them with the tools to really understand their ownership in the learning processes? And it's really important to think about that, because again, what is the purpose of education? And then how are we creating our learning environments to promote that? By doing traditional lectures where we go and talk to them for 3 hours and then have 3 or 4 exams during the semester where they need to memorize a bunch of things. I don't think that would prepare someone to go and work with 3D printers when they never saw one during their time in college, right? It really need to have us reflecting on some of the things that we do. And then that also connects to another point that I want to talk about today, which is the importance of understanding multiple views and making sure our classrooms are inclusive. And here I always bring some examples that at the first time I saw them were very shocking to me, but now I'm becoming more familiar with situations like this, and sadly, those examples have become kind of normal in engineering, right? And I'm going to show you two of them, which again, it really amazed me when I saw them first. And the first one is facial recognition. When facial recognition started, it was a technology being used by the top technology companies in the world. Companies that have, probably the most, the better engineers and incredible amount of money and are producing the top products. And then how is it possible that some of this technology will only accurate or were the most accurate for white men, and then people with different skin tones will have very, very less accurate um, working of the technology, right? And that poses a question: how is it possible that this happened in social art companies? Then, before going into why, another example that really concerned me is the car industry, right? Um, Women are 70% more likely to be killed in a car accident than men, and 73% greater chances of being seriously injured. If you want to see some statistics, legs 80%, arms 60% more chance, neck 44% more chance. Anyway, so when we think about this, and again, we're talking about the biggest car companies in the world. Toyota here in the United States would be Ford and Chrysler, and you keep seeing this data and you would think, how is it possible that things like this happen when we have top engineers making designs, we have so many processes to test cars and all this? And well, the answer is simple. In both cases, when you do a little bit of digging and research, you realize really quickly that part of the problem is that uh, not everyone was represented in those conversations. Not everyone was in the room where decisions were made. So obviously, when you don't have those voices, it's really easy to miss some things because, again, it doesn't come from the perspective of, oh, I want to do harm to others. It's just come from the perspective of, I'm thinking from my own views and perspective, and of course I will be missing something. It's extremely important that I try to incorporate voices of people that, especially those that think differently than me or that have experiences that are different than my own, right? Um, with cars, it was fascinating to me to see when they do crash testing, what they use as dummies are these dummies are recreated based on the male body. And then someone even went into a study that a pregnant woman are even at higher risk because again they have never done this um, crash exercises with having different types of dummies in mind. Anyway, that also leads me to have a little bit of a conversation on unintended consequences, right? And what we teach our students and how sometimes perspective is everything, and perspective is connected to um, understanding multiple views, but understanding context and the way that we train our students. Again, if I connect back to solving problems, what are we thinking and how much do we know about a problem before solving? I want to show you this example. This was a project that we did with students needed to create a product to solve a real problem in a rural community. And they were required to go visit the rural communities, again, identify the problem, propose a design, create the product, and pitch this product. And in this community, students went and visit, and the problem that they saw is what you see on the left: a lot of trash on the streets, and they went identify, and the product that they created was a this this device that will attach to the trucks, the trash trucks, where they will be able to pick up the trash and bring it into the truck, um, and then make the process really easy for them. So what you see on the left in a couple of weeks became the picture that you see on the right. And for the students at that moment, they felt like they were very successful and that they had solved a problem and that, they did really good. Unfortunately, that wasn't the reality. The reality is that this project created a lot of problems for us. And this, by the way, we did this in South America. I work with a university there in Colombia, and again, this project created a lot of problem and a lot of pushback from the community, because what happened in reality is that, again, students were there, they saw a problem, they thought about the problem from their perspective, they thought about a solution from their perspective, but not in a single time they decided to go and talk to the people involved with the community and the actual problem. And that was a big mistake, because what happened is that by doing that, these students and this project took away the meal of a lot of families from the table. Because in those communities, again, very, very rural communities, most of the family work as recyclers of trash. And actually, the trash there was this only source of income for many, many families in that community. And what they did is they pretty much classify the trash, and then they go and sell it at this recycling company, and that's how they get some income and some money. What the students did was good from the perspective of solving what they thought it was the problem, but what they did was they eliminated the middleman, and again they took away the only source of income for many, many families in this rural community. And I always use that example because, again, it's really easy for us to think about solutions and go into problem solving mode without really understanding. And for me, having representation of all the voices and making sure that all the voices are included also means understanding context and talking to people, the people that are actually affected by the problem. We need to have all the voices, right? But for us, for that to happen, we also really need to think about how are we making this important visible for students, but how are we also making this part of our teaching practices in our own classrooms? Are we intentionally bringing all the voices of our students? Because in our classrooms, no matter where we are, we have a lot of different experiences and perspectives. Even if all the students look the same, we have a lot of diversity and a lot of uh, different backgrounds and experiences. How are we ensuring that all those voices are being valued and are being incorporated as part of the learning process? Because we're going to talk about learning in a moment, and again, there are a couple of reasons why that is important. So I always like to share this statement of Dr. Gallimore from the University of Michigan. He's the dean of the College of Engineering, because I really like what he says. He says, from the wheel to the automobile, the printing press to the internet, eyeglasses to orbiting telescopes, engineering has expanded humanity's horizons and improved the human condition. But it has become clear that such technologies and systems do not benefit everyone equally. At times, they can even actively harm some groups. Unintended consequences can occur because engineers are people too. People shaped by their cultures with biases and blind spots, right? And I think that's really important because, again, we really need to reflect on this, because we really need to have open conversations about this and not only make our students understand that this is a reality and this is important from our perspective as educators and from our pedagogical practices. What are we doing to make sure we create this environment? And it's really complex. Why it's really complex? Well, let me give you a very short conversation on learning and the science behind the brain and all this. And again, I'm oversimplifying this because I don't have the time to go into a lot of details, but I really want to show this to show why things are important, right? So when we think about what happens in a classroom, right? We have the instructor, we have the students, we have information, right? Um, and there is a lot of information. Like if you see any classroom, you see that there is an instructor sharing, right? There might be some slides, there might be some writing on the board, but there is also a lot of other information: peers, cell phones, windows, noises, lights, right? All of that is information. And then when the information comes, the student needs to make a decision. What do I keep and what do I trash, right? And in order for the student to keep it, you know, they need to see some value of what they are receiving. Because again, it's a lot of information and it's really easy to decide to trash some of that. So that would be the first filter, right? Um, I have the first sensory register, that's about a second of understanding where I am, on having an awareness of what I'm receiving, and making the first decision about, okay, what am I keeping, what am I throwing away, right? And then after that, when I see that there is some valuable information, there will be some stuff that I will keep in my working memory, right? And we said this about 4 chunks in less than a minute. So then after that, I need to make another decision. From what I have in my working memory, what do I keep? What do I throw away? Right? And that's when the storage happens. And that's when it moves from my working memory to my long-term memory, right? But then what is even more important is, how do I do the retrieval, right? Because it's not only that I need to have it and keep it in my long-term memory, I need to be able to bring that information back when I need it. And sometimes that doesn't happen, right? So I know I'm oversimplifying a very complex process, but I'm trying to show you how difficult it is for a student to keep something and to be able to bring it back. Because again, I receive a lot of information, and I go through several filters of, do I keep it or not? Do I keep it or not? Do I keep it or not? And even if I keep it, can I bring it back? And there is some criteria for students to go into, to take that information into storage, right? First, there needs to be an emotional association. If there is no emotional association, it's probably going to be thrown away. And again, for emotional association to happen, it needs to be understood from the perspective of the experiences of the student, right? So it has to be relevant to the student prior knowledge, to the student interest, to the student goals. So again, if as a student I cannot connect with the information that is being shared with me, and I cannot make any connections, I will not be involved in the process of co-constructing knowledge, which means that probably everything will be thrown away. If I'm able to be part of the process of constructing knowledge, then maybe it will get to my long-term memory and I will know how to retrieve that information, right? But again, I need to be able to make an association with it. And that association usually is related to emotional aspects. And those emotional aspects can be positive or negative. That's why it's so important for me as a student to be in a place where I feel safe to learn, to be in a place where I feel like my voice is valued and that my thoughts are important, right? And that's why in our processes, I've been moving away from the concept of pedagogy to this new, no, it's not new, but it's, for me, I use it more often now, this concept of eudagogy, which is pretty much self-directed learning, right? It's pretty much students owning their own processes. Um, that goes beyond content, right? It's more process oriented. It's not focused on the teacher. It's focused on the student. A student will be owning the process, but they need to have a voice to be able to do that. They need to understand the metacognition, which is understanding how we learn. Um, and that's really important, and that's really tricky to do, because in order to do that, we really need to again allow the student to have a voice. And there are several studies that have shown that when students feel that they have a voice, and when the student feel that the instructor cares, is when they really connect and engage to this learning process. So going back to one of my first slides, when I keep asking myself, why are some students more motivated than others? Well, the ones that they were, it was because they thought we care about them, and they were able to connect their previous experiences emotionally into the learning process. And that connection translates into engagement, which again translates into learning and doing things right. um, the last thing I wanted to share is, think, because people usually think, okay, but what are some concrete examples of how you do something like that? And I always bring this example of one of my first year engineering classes, where they were supposed to create a project and design something. And usually they would be given options to design a wind turbine or a drone. And we have like a maker space and they will go and do that. And at some point I decided, well, they are not learning much from that. And I partnered with the Children Museum of Blacksburg, which is a local children museum here. And I had my students creating prototypes from the museum. And then what I did is I had the people from the museum coming and talking to my students. And then in the final showcase, you can see there my kid when he was like 8 or 9, um, coming and actually testing all the prototypes. And that was the most rewarding experience for our students, to actually be able to build something and be tested by some of the users. And the kid will be asking them questions and they will be realizing where they mess up and what they needed to do differently. And for me, that is part of that. How can we bring real experiences? And it doesn't have to do people creating these products like you see there. Sometimes it's as simple as, how can we bring a local problem? And you can bring local problems into any context, into any classes, and have students go out of the comfort zone, bring their own experiences, and then go talk to people to really understand what's going on. And in some cases, I even talk about having students moving away from being problem solvers and becoming problem posers, right? Because they have a lot of experience and background. And sometimes we worry about instructors to bring problems and projects for them, and I realized more and more that sometimes what we need is have them create the problem, mm, have them find their own project, have them create that. And anyway, um, all right. So that's all I have in terms of my talk and my conversation. And like I said, I wanted to give some time to, um, you know, see if you had any questions or any reactions to what I said there. Um, and yeah, so let me stop right there. And I know I shared a lot of different things. So again, happy to answer any questions or comments that you might have.
Participants, do you have any questions for the speaker? Anybody?
Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Please go ahead. Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Professor, your
Sorry,
speech is very interesting.
interesting.
Can you share any
Can you
one best
share?
practice you feel that will be helpful for any education institute regarding to face with the changes which we are facing?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, a couple of different things. I think it's really important to, again, really think about the examples that we're using and incorporating, real context into the things that we do. And that also should be attached to really rethinking how we do evaluation and how we assess our students, right? And really understanding what is the purpose, what are the learning outcomes of our classes, and how are our evaluation processes connecting to that, right? But then in the classroom, in our pedagogical practices, there are a couple of little things that you can do that really will create a transformation on how the class is run. So, for example, I do a pre-semester survey where I ask students, where they're from. I ask them what can I do to help them learn better. What should I consider when placing them on teams? What have been their experience so far at university? I ask them about their favorite song. I ask them about unique facts about themselves, right? And then what I do is I use all of that information and try to incorporate some of that into my classes, right? I try to learn from them. I try to learn who they are. Things like learning their names. And I know that's easier when you have smaller classes. That's more complex when you have very large classes. But again, trying to use some of that information and incorporate it in ways in my examples in class. And that really creates a difference. I always have a playlist with all of their favorite songs, right? And it's playing before the class every time. That really changed the attitude of students going into the class. It changed the tone. It's sometimes it's about energy, right? It's about demonstrating these things. And then the other thing is getting feedback, right? In many institutions, we wait until the end of the semester to get the student feedback. I have a paper where I did an experiment and I was collecting weekly feedback and I was incorporating some of those things or addressing some of those things there. And there was a big difference of how they engage with the class. And I'm not saying you need to do that weekly, but at least have 3 or 4 points in the semester where you will be sharing, getting the students, giving the opportunity to share feedback about how the class is going, they would like to, what they would like to change, etc. So yeah, I think those are a couple of things that you can directly incorporate in your practices. Um, and I see a question in the chat about experiential learning, challenges, benefits of using technology for experiential learning. I think, yeah, I think that is a great question. And first, I think I think research has proven that experiential learning is something important and is something that really is creating and developing deep learning, right? So that's something we need to pay attention to, right? And experiential learning means different things, right? There are also misconceptions about what experiential learning is. Experiential learning is creating spaces where students can actively engage with the learning process, right? Sometimes that means they can do an industry visit, or they can do projects in companies, or they can do real projects. Sometimes that means they can go and study abroad, or they can do an international experience. Sometimes experiential learning is as simple as having students working virtually with students from other countries or even other regions in your own country, right? So I think that for that, technology becomes crucial, right? Um, One of the things that happened after the COVID-19 situation in 2020 is that we realized that incorporating virtual spaces, it might not be as difficult as we thought, right? And there was some sort of normalization of, well, I'm giving a keynote in India right now, right? I think we were able to understand that there are less limitations on the things that we can do. So I think that's a way that we should take advantage of technology. um, and then, however, I think it's also really important to pay attention to the advancement of technology and really train our students on how to use the technology. And one of the best examples is the hot topic right now is ChatGPT, right? And how artificial intelligence is going to affect our learning processes. And I'm not going to go into that big conversation and discussion because I know it's a big one. But what I do say about that is I prefer to be the one teaching my students how to use it than having them using uh, to my back, right? I prefer to be the one teaching them how to use it in a meaningful and effective way. But anyway, we can go there into that. Do you recommend reflective teaching methodologies are useful for industry? Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I've seen most important and rewarding, and it maybe connects back to what Professor Usha asked earlier, is reflection, right? I think anything reflective is the proper way of doing things, both teaching, but also from the student perspective. I realized that when I started asking my students to do reflections, the learning gains increased considerably. And sometimes it was even as challenging, as simple, sorry, as reflect on how you did on the test. Asking them to do that creates a huge opportunity for them to really think about the process that they just went through. And I feel like sometimes that brings even more learning than the process of taking the test itself. So what I'm doing right now is not only I'm incorporating reflection as part of all my assessment. Like I create prompts for my students and they need to reflect during the entire semester. They do it almost every week or sometimes every 2 weeks. Um, but I create prompts for them where they need to be reflecting about everything they're doing. They reflect about their team, they reflect about their projects, they reflect about their career and how the class is impacting them. Because again, that's the only way that you can teach them and help them understand how to learn. Um, Challenges and opportunities of having artificial intelligence, another great question. Again, that goes into a big debate. Um, what is important again is for us to understand the tools that are available and help our students understand how to use it, because tools are tools, right? And and they will be there. We cannot move away from those. Those technologies are there, and they are there for the long term. What we really need to think about is how can we use it to take advantage of this in a meaningful way. And I train my students how to use this artificial intelligence tool. But also, as an educator, these tools are wonderful. I've been using artificial intelligence to help provide feedback to my students in team reports. And I let them know the report, the peer evaluation feedback will come from an artificial intelligence tool. So what I do is I have ChatGPT processing their peer feedback, and ChatGPT creates these individualized reports that tell the students what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses. And again, they know it's coming from ChatGPT, and it's been a really interesting process because they are fascinated by the fact that that's happened. Some inputs on emotion training. Well, um, so emotions, it's a complex one as well, and we've been doing it from the perspective of both the students but also the instructor. And one of the things is, again, as humans, we are emotional. Uh, we bring emotions in everything we do. We make decisions based on emotions. We every day come to the classroom with our emotions, and we cannot separate from that, even if we try to do it, right? So for us, it's been the initial step of that work has been understanding the role of emotions and understanding and recognizing our own emotions, right? And how we can process that. We have been doing also some work on theorizing emotions in engineering education. Um, it's just the things that we do, which we have seen that is connected to biases. It's also connected to some preconceptions. And again, what is important here is awareness. These things are not good or bad. Like, it's just what it is. We just need to be aware of it, and by being aware, then we can make sure that the decisions that we make, the support that we provide to our students, is based on real objective needs and not on those emotions. So we need to really be able to manage and control those. um Significant of capstone project of kind of academic requirements. um and then taking care of student diversity. So first, capstone projects, I think, are one of the, connecting to some of the early questions, one of the aspects of experiential learning, right? Um, these are very important projects, and again, the research has proven that this creates a huge learning experience for the student, and students that graduate always report capstone projects as one of the most significant learning experiences during the university. And when we interview early career engineers to understand about, what was effective, all of them will comment that one of the things that prepared them the most for the work was the capstone project. So it's good and it's effective. I think where we really need to be paying attention and putting some emphasis is, we don't need to wait until the end of the program to expose the students to these type of projects. Usually this capstone happens at the end of this last year or the last semester. And one of the things we realize is, why don't we do more early on? We don't need to have a massive capstone project to have students going into that mindset. We can bring smaller capstone type projects, so students benefit since the early years in their education. um, Taking care of student diversity, I think that's one of the really complex ones. um, I think, you know we really need to understand what we can do from our role as educators versus what students and instructors have to navigate as part of structural systems, right? And I think, at least here in the United States, that has been one of the largest challenges, is really understand what are the systematic issues that we cannot change as individuals, but rather require a systemic change, and how we can really tackle that. So I think, from us as educators, the most we have control over is in our own classrooms. So I think part of our work should be understanding how we can create more inclusive learning spaces in our own classrooms, and then reflecting on the system and understanding the systems we're in, and then trying to raise some of the issues that we might see with the system, with the understanding that it goes beyond our scope, right? And that those are institutional conversations, and we might need to focus on what we can control, which might be the classroom. Um, Elaborate on emotional association, right? Particularly when students take up students or societal pressure from parents, peers, but not coming from within. Yes, and I think again, I think that is the challenge, right? Especially when students come into these spaces and they are in a new environment. Higher education represents a new environment for many of them. So then, when we focus on content only and technical aspects only, they will be even more disconnected, right? But rather, when we try to let them incorporate their examples, then we have a different approach. And one example that I can give on that is one of the things that we do as educator, and we do that a lot, is we ask students, "Do you have any questions?" Right? Um, and most of the time, students will not respond. Or sometimes the students that will ask the questions are the students that are more comfortable with talking and that they are probably on top of the classes, which are not the ones that really need to be responding, right? When we say, do anyone has any questions, we are wanting to know and learn from the students that are struggling. But again, that is not a good practice because the ones that are struggling will not share. They are quiet, they are shy, they are struggling, right? So instead of doing that, I do a lot of think per share, right? Instead of asking them, do you have questions? I create the questions. I'm an expert on the topic, so I might know what type of questions they might have. So I pose the question to them and I said, spend 1 minute thinking by yourself, then spend a couple of minutes talking to someone sitting next to you. And then maybe some of you that are comfortable share with the class, and then I engage in the conversation, right? But by doing that process, I'm pretty much forcing everyone to at least have a conversation with someone. So for those students that are shy, they will at least be more comfortable talking to someone sitting next to them than talking to the entire class or to myself. And that's what I want, because when I force them to think, to respond something, they are making the connection from their perspective. And then I keep incorporating things like that where they can bring their own voices. And it doesn't have to be to the entire classroom. Again, it can be to some of their peers. But promoting those small group conversations and making sure students that are more shy are having an opportunity to share is how you start making those connections. Because again, you are forced to think about these things and you are forced to try to talk about them. So then you will talk from your perspective and from your experiences. Um, what are factors leading to preconceptions toward product-oriented learning approach among in freshmen? Um, I think it's the cultural perception of engineering, right? Because what these students are told in high school is if they are good in math and science, they can be good engineers, because they will be able to solve problems and create products, right? So I think they bring those conceptions, and I mean, it's not that that is completely wrong. It's just that it's just one side of engineering. But engineering is more than that. Engineering is making decisions. Engineering is thinking about how to solve some of the most complex problems in the world. Engineering is about creating better societies, right? And so I think that's a very limited preconception that these students have, because I think there is also a problem, and in most countries actually that I've interacted with, that usually in high school, or before going into university, students are exposed to mentors that might not understand engineering fully, right? So what they get about whatever they think engineering is, um, you know, it might be biased or it might be very limited based on the experiences of people that might not even be engineers or know about the discipline. So again, that creates another chat. That's why I also think that in engineering education as a field, we need to spend more time really letting students know, especially in high school and you know education before higher education, let them know what engineering is about, and how um, a lot of people can be capable of doing engineering, even if they're struggling a little bit with math. Um, Aspects of critical pedagogy address issues of diversity. Yes, absolutely. I think that's kind of the direction that we look forward, right? Critical pedagogy is pretty much about understanding the human aspect of education, right? And Paulo Freire is one of the biggest leaders or promoters of this, and his views were moving away from this, what he called the banking concept of education, right? Because the way that education is set, especially at universities, comes from a very interesting historical perspective, where we needed to massive produce graduates, right? Because of multiple reasons. We had the Industrial Revolution, we had World War II. So we needed to mass create people in universities to go and into the factory manufacturing lines, right? And manufacturing facilities. So we really needed to set educational systems as a line to mass produce so they could adapt to the productive lines in the manufacturing facility. So anyway, critical pedagogy will challenge those preconceptions and say, the art of pedagogy is understanding, again, what is the purpose of education and how to create spaces where knowledge is recycled, constructed, and shared. And that is highly connected to issues of diversity and equity, right?
Thank you, Professor. I now request Dr. Shobha to propose the vote of thanks for the keynote.
A very good morning to you all, and a very good evening to Professor Homero Murzi. So it is our 60th institution day, and we are really jubilant to have started this day of great significance with a keynote address that has highlighted the importance of engineering education, research, and educational practices. The arts-informed approach is an alternative view that can open up different possibilities in the sphere of engineering education. Like you rightly mentioned, sir, raising our hands a little more can always make us do more. Thank you, Professor, for your insights on voice, perspective, equity, diversity, and the role of artificial intelligence in the engineering education context. I thank the keynote professor, Professor Homero Mursi, who has accepted our invitation in spite of the time zone challenges between the countries, and grateful to our beloved chairman, Professor Kumar, and our esteemed director, Professor Tushar Natesan, for providing us an opportunity to create the space for such a beneficial learning experience. I'm thankful to Professor Renuka Devi ma'am for organizing this talk, and Professor Janathan sir for introducing such an insightful person to our institution. I thank all the faculty, the research scholars, the students who have joined us today, and the educational media team for the technical support. Thank you, sir. We will now continue the other events of our 60th institution day. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Professor.
much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Namaste.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Hello. Check. Hello. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I request all the dignitaries to go to the dais, please. I request all the guests to use silent mode on their mobile phones, please. Welcome to the 60th Institution Day celebrations of NITER Chennai. Let us begin the day with the invocation, the Tamilthai Varthu, and the national song. Please be seated. Respected professors, esteemed guests, faculty members, staff, research scholars, and students, their parents, good morning. NITA Chennai proudly celebrates its 60th Institution Day on December 14th, 2023, marking 6 decades of unwavering commitment to educational excellence. This, we consider, is a historic moment to acknowledge the significance of this milestone. 60 years of dedicated service in shaping minds and fostering excellence in education. Truly a remarkable journey for NITA Chennai. Lighting the lamp ensures the spread of light and cheer, both literal and intellectual. I now invite our esteemed guests on the dais to light the lamp. Thank you. I now invite Professor Dr. G. Kurandaivel, Head Department of Electrical, Electronics and Communication Engineering, and also the Head of the Center for International Relations, to welcome the gathering and present an overview of the day's program.
Happy morning to all. A resounding and joyous welcome to each and every one of you as we come together today to commemorate a momentous occasion, the Institution Day celebrations of NITA Chennai, and even that marks the commencement of our Grand Diamond Jubilee celebrations. As we gather to celebrate here, I am reminded of a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you desire to be." Over the past 60 years, NITA Chennai has decided to be an institution of excellence, and today we stand on the threshold of an exciting new chapter of our journey. I heartily welcome you all on behalf of NITA Chennai for this prestigious occasion of our institute celebrating Institution Day as part of Diamond Jubilee celebrations on December 14, 2023. It's very difficult to believe that what was once dream is being fulfilled now. The idea of putting the foundation of education institution is so inspiring. What was once planted as a sapling is now all grown into a large tree. I, on behalf of everyone present here, extend a hearty welcome to the chief guest and the dignity of the priceless function today, Professor Dr. Karthikeyan, Director, IIIT Kanchipuram, an astute and erudite educationalist, and also a constituent and distinguished administrator. I am especially thankful to him as when we approached him to grace the solemn event as chief guest, he accepted our request and readily agreed to come over here in spite of his busy schedule. His presence today is a source of inspiration to all of us. We are eagerly looking forward to listen to his words of wisdom and his sane advice. Welcome, sir. It is with immense pleasure and honor, and I extend a warm welcome to the distinguished personality who needs no introduction in the field of information and technology, our esteemed guest of honor, Professor Dr. V.S.S. Kumar, the Chairman, NITTER Board of Governors. Dr. V.S.S. Kumar's illustrious career and tireless dedication to the field of education have left an indelible mark on the landscape of technical education and teacher training in our country. Thank you for coming from Hyderabad to attend this function. Thank you, sir. I heartfully extend welcome to our director of this institution, Professor Dr. Usha Nadesan, an eminent scholar, a dynamic, results-oriented leader who has a strong track record of performance in both academics and administration. Madam is known for her keen analysis and insights and team approach to drive organizational improvements and implementation of the best practices. Under her stewardship, NITR has been at the forefront of designing cutting-edge training programs, developing innovative teaching methodologies, and promoting research and development in the field of technical education. Madam's dedication and enhancing the quality of teaching and learning has not only enriched the lives of countless trainees, but also contributed significantly to the advancement of our society. Her visionary leadership, unwavering commitment, and innovative approach have propelled NITTER Chennai to new heights, making it a beacon of excellence in the realm of technical education. We feel honored to have the benign director, NITTER Chennai, as the president of today's function. Welcome, madam. It is my distinct pleasure to extend a warm and hearty welcome to all guests, participants, alumni, and the dedicated faculty and staff members of the institutions. Your presence today adds immense value to this historic occasion, and we are truly honored by your presence. To our alumni, you are the living testament to the excellence and success of our institution. Your achievements in various fields reflect the quality of education and mentorship you received here. Your presence today is a source of pride for all of us, and we are grateful to your continued support and connection with your alma mater. To our committed faculty and staff, you form the foundation of our institution. Your steadfast dedication for cultivating a space for learning and creativity has played a crucial role in molding our students and trainees' future. We deeply value your devotion and extend our gratitude for your relentless work in nurturing the intellectual growth of our trainees and students. As we come together today, let us remember that it is the collective effort of all individuals, the faculty, staff members, students, and alumni that has made our institution what it is today. The historic occasion is an opportunity for us to reflect our achievements, celebrate our shared successes, and look forward into a future filled with even greater accomplishments. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you, including all those who are connected online. Let us make the most of this gathering, sharing knowledge, forging new connections, and inspiring one another. Together, we can continue to drive the legacy of excellence that defines our institution. So, as we have given in the invitation, so after this inaugural and speech by our chief guest, we are going to have the felicitation of faculty and staff members who have completed 25 years of service at NITR Chennai. Then we'll be having MOE ceremony with IIITDM that is here. And we have Welltech Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sali Wagner. We'll be having two MOE ceremony. Then we'll be having the award of master's degree certificates to our previous students, batch students. Then up to lunch we'll be having here. Then after lunch we'll be having a panel discussion, reframing of professional development systems approach by members from academia and industry. It will be in the seminar hall that is in the L building, Swami Vivekananda block. So all the faculty and staff members and others are also welcome there. So 3:30 p.m. we'll be having the refreshments in the cafeteria. Thank you all. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. We will now have the felicitation of the guests. As a way of expressing our gratitude, I request our director to felicitate and present a memento to our chief guest, Professor Dr. M.V. Karthikeyan, Director, IIITDM Kanjipuram, for gracing us with his presence today. I now request our director to also felicitate and present a memento to our beloved chairman, Professor V.S.S. Kumar. As a token of our love and gratitude, we would like to honor our director. I request Professor G. Kurandivel to felicitate our director. Thank you, dignitaries. It is with great honor and privilege that I now invite our director, a visionary leader, an architect of excellence in technical education, training, and research, and the driving force behind the achievements of our esteemed institute. I invite Madam to deliver the presidential address and share with us the remarkable achievements that have shaped the legacy of our esteemed institution.
Professor Karthikeyan, Professor Kumar, Professor Salivakanan, all big shots are sitting here. I don't know. Really, it's a very happy moment that we have the visionary leaders with us to accepting our invitation and regarding the commemoration of our 60th Institution Day. And my dear NITR family, including all staff member, faculty, students, alumni, very happy moment to see you all, those who passed out also. So very warm welcome to NITR Chennai and very good morning to all of you. So a very warm welcome to all of us. We gather here today to celebrate a momentous occasion, the Diamond Jubilee of our beloved institution, National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, fondly known as NITR Chennai. It is a privilege and an honor to stand before you all and address this august gathering on such a joyous and significant milestone in our institution's history. Over the past 59 years, because we are entering into 60 years today, NITR Chennai has stood tall as a beacon of knowledge, excellence, and transformation in the field of technical education. It has been a guiding light for generations, shaping not only the lives of the students who walked through its hallowed halls, but also the future of our great nation. Today, as we gather to celebrate this landmark occasion, we cannot help but look back on our journey with a sense of pride and immense gratitude. We owe our gratitude to all our visionaries, founders, and leaders who laid the foundation of this institution and nurtured it with unwavering determination. Their foresight and dedication have paved the way for us to be here today, celebrating 60 years of educational brilliance. NITTER Chennai has been instrumental in producing exceptional educators and technical leaders who have gone on to contribute the progress and development of our nation. Through its cutting edge research, innovative pedagogies, and knowledge sharing platforms, this institution has continuously strived to develop and improve the quality of technical education in our country. Moreover, NITTER Chennai has always believed in the holistic development of its trainees and students. The institution's emphasis on character building, ethical conduct, and social responsibility has played a significant role in shaping not just the competent professionals but also responsible citizens who are committed to serving the society. As we stand on the threshold of the future, we are faced with new challenges and opportunities. The world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and the demands of the global workforce are constantly changing. NITTER Chennai, with its legacy of excellence, is well equipped to meet these challenges head on. With its commitment to teaching and research, our institution will continue to be at the forefront of technical education and contribute to the growth and progress of our nation in the years to come. On this momentous occasion, let us express our heartfelt gratitude to all the faculty members, retired and presently working, who have dedicated to their lives to shaping the minds and future of countless trainees and students. Their tireless efforts, commitment, and passion have been instrumental in making NITTER Chennai what is today. We are indebted to them for their selfless dedicated to the cause of education. I personally thank all the non-teaching staff for your hard work and dedication. It is a privilege to appreciate your tireless efforts, often behind the scenes, that forms the backbone of the institute. Today, as we celebrate this extraordinary journey, let us also take a moment to acknowledge the incredible achievements of our alumni. They are the living testament to the institution's enduring legacy. Many of our alumni have risen to the positions of eminence and have become pioneers in the respective fields, bringing laurels not only to themselves but also to NITTER Chennai. Their success stories bear testament to the exceptional education imparted by this esteemed institution. Lastly, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to all the current students who form the lifeblood of our institution. You are the torchbearers of our institution's values and traditions. It is in your hands that we entrust the responsibility of carrying our legacy forward. As future leaders, engineers, educators, and entrepreneurs, I have no doubt that you will make us proud and continue to add glory to NITTER Chennai. On this momentous Diamond Jubilee celebration, let us not only celebrate our rich history but also look ahead with renewed enthusiasm and determination. Let us pledge to uphold the values of integrity, excellence, and innovation that have defined NITTER Chennai. Together, let us chart a glorious path for the future as we strive for greater heights of success and make a lasting impact on the world. Thank you and long live NITTER Chennai.
Thank you, madam. Respected dignitaries, we now arrive to a moment of great significance, the unveiling of the Diamond Jubilee logo, symbolizing 60 years of our academic excellence and progress. To formally present this emblem, I invite Professor Dr. Malliga to hand over the emblem design. Professor Malliga and her team has been an integral part of the planning and execution of this logo. I request the director, Dr. Usha Natesan, to unveil the Diamond Jubilee logo now. Thank you, madam, for doing the honors. This Diamond Jubilee logo will serve as a constant reminder of our continuous pursuit of excellence that defines NITR Chennai. May it inspire future generations and serve as a symbol of pride for all our associated with our esteemed association. It is now my distinct pleasure to invite a distinguished personality whose guidance has played a vital role in shaping the trajectory of NITR Chennai. Our guest of honor for today's celebration is Professor Dr. VSS Kumar, who is serving as the chairman of the Board of Governors at NITR Chennai. With a stellar academic background and a wealth of experience, Professor Kumar brings not only knowledge but also a profound commitment to advancing education. I welcome you, sir, to address the gathering.
Respected today's chief guest, Professor Karthikeyan, our director, Professor Usha Natesan, other dignitaries on the dais of the dais. Very good morning to all of you. My greetings to faculty and staff members of the NITR on the 60th Institution Day. I am really proud to be part of this Institution Day as a Diamond Jubilee celebrations for the NITR. When teacher gets admitted into any university or institute, he needs a proper training. Normally, any person, whether it's a engineering faculty or any university faculty or whoever it may be, he'll get trained through his experience. But this training through experience doesn't help the faculty member to become a good teacher. They need a structured training from the institute like NITR and other areas to become a good teacher in the respective institutes. For this, NITR plays a vital role to give the training to the faculty member on various areas like pedagogy, different training areas, and the new innovative areas where to students get good employability and other things. In this training program, NITR, with limited number of faculty as on today, giving the training with that by taking help from the others for various people, not only in India, participants from all over the world, including small countries like 22 countries around the globe. These people are getting trained and getting very good knowledge in this institute. Finally, they are just going back to the institute and delivering subject knowledge to the people. Here, today morning itself, one of the professor from Virginia Tech started mentioning technology should be utilized for the enhancement of the training. Technology enhanced training is very, very important. And because of the new technology, teacher can make use of these training courses, and with the technology, they can become a good teacher. Here, critical thinking, design thinking, and the mind map is very, very important. Not only the direct teaching in the class, you should see that student in the class should think in the directions of the critical thinking. There is to have the mind map and other design thinking for them to learn more in the subject area. With this, in this process, our NITR is confident enough to give the training to the faculty members. However, with the limited faculty, we are doing wonders in the institute. Now we are very fortunate enough to get the good faculty. We got the permission from the Minister of Education to recruit more number of faculty. Shortly, we'll have more number of faculty in the institute, and these people can deliver good training programs to the faculty. Not only these people, when the teacher is training all the time in the institute, they cannot learn new area. I request the director to send our faculty members either to the training centers in India or abroad, so that each faculty member at least go 2 to 3 times in a year to the different areas to learn the new innovative areas. In turn, they can train the faculty in India, and all the faculty will get benefited. With the limited faculty, our director is doing wonders and bringing laurels to the institute. I congratulate once again the faculty members on the 60th Institution Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Professor Dr. M.V. Karthikeyan, Director, IIIT-DM Kanchipuram, is the chief guest for today. And to introduce Dr. Karthikeyan to the audience, I invite Professor G. Kurandivel, sir.
Professor M.V. Karthikeyan, Director of Indian Institute of Information Technology, Design and Manufacturing, Kanchipuram. He received his Master of Science and PhD degrees specializing in advanced electronics and radio physics and microwave engineering from Banaras Hindu University and IIT BHU Varanasi, India in 1985 and 1992, respectively. He was a research scientist with the Central Electronics Engineering Research Institute, Pilani, from 1989 to 2001. He was with Institute of Pulse, Power and Microwave Technology, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, Karlsruhe, Germany, 1996, 98 to 2000, 2001 to 2003, and during summers in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2011, and 2012. He joined the Department of Electronics and Computer Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, India, as an associate professor in 2003 and elevated to full professor in 2009. He worked as head of the Institute Computer Center from January 2012 to April 2014 and head of the Electronics and Communication Engineering from May 2013 to February 2016. He moved to IIT Tirupati on deputation in 2020. And at present, he is director of IIIT-DM since October 2022. Professor Karthikeyan is the principal author of 5 books. He published more than 360 research papers in peer-reviewed transactions, journals, and conferences. He supervised and co-supervised more than 100 PhD, PG, UG students. His current research interests include high-power millimeter wave and terahertz sources, RF circuits, antennas and systems, metamaterials and fractals, computational electromagnetics, and RF and microwave design with soft computing and machine learning techniques. Professor Karthikeyan is a fellow of IEEE, INAE, IET, BEDS, OSI, AAIA, IE, and IETE. Professor Karthikeyan received as a member of Vacuum Electronics Technical Committee of IEEE Electron Devices Society during 2018 to 2021. Since 2022, he is serving VETZ as a corresponding member. Professor Karthikeyan is a recipient of Hildegard Mayer Research Fellowship for Electrical Sciences of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation during 98 to 2000, and Alexander von Humboldt Research Fellowship 2001 to 2003, 2011, 2012. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Professor Ushana Tyson, Director. Professor VSS Kumar, Chairman, Board of Governors, NITRI Chennai. Professor G. Kulanthevel, Professor S. Somasundaram, and Professor Salivaganan and their team from Veltech, the faculty members, students, and staff of NITRI Chennai community, ladies and gentlemen. of India as a catalyst institute of the country, comprising the states of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Telangana, and the Union Territory of Puducherry. This institute, being a resource institute, offers educational services in curriculum, material, institutional development, instructional methods, media, examination reforms, continuing education, distance learning, training and development, educational psychology, educational management research. So in most of the IITs, IIITs, and NITs, we miss this aspect. We have the researchers joining our institution, but they don't know the teaching methodologies, so they don't have a proper training also. So all my praise for such endeavors of NITRI community, they're training the teachers so that they can hold their skill sets, so that they can impart better teaching and training to the students. All my praise to you, particularly NITRI Chennai. And NITRI Chennai holds a significant position as one of the empaneled institute by NSDC in the country, offering training of trainer programs covering various trades. For the past 6 decades, the institute has been driving force in empowering rural communities. The institute is monitoring and facilitating agency of persons with the disability scheme and community development through polytechnic scheme. These are very novel. The institute strives continuously and vigorously to achieve greater heights of excellence by actively collaborating with the national and international agencies on projects and programs aimed at quality improvement of technical education and systems. Today, as you celebrate the Institute Day, you pay your obeisance and reverence to those who built such a great technical institute of national importance in this country. The Institute Day is a day of pride and joy. It reckons us to recall the great works of those who nurtured this institute over a period of 6 decades. Trust it will go further to reach dizzy heights under the able guidance and expert leadership of their director, Professor Usha Nateshan. As you are celebrating the 60th Institute Day of NITRI Chennai, we, that is the IIITM Kanchipuram, are entering an MOU with them on academic and research cooperation in common areas of mutual interest. I fully trust such a cooperation is highly essential to grow further and to grow together in the niche areas of technical importance and significance. My congratulations to the senior faculty and staff members who successfully completed 25 years of service at NITRI Chennai, and my wishes to the awardees also. I sincerely thank Professor Usha Nateshan for the invitation. My appreciation to one and all in making this event a memorable one. I once again extend my Institute Day and wishes to all of you. Thank you all. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir. We will now have the MOU signing ceremony. This ceremony marks a commitment to collaboration, innovation, and a pursuit of shared goals. We have the privilege of honoring individuals who have completed 25 years of service in our institution to the noble cause of education. These stalwarts, our esteemed faculty and staff members, have tirelessly contributed to the growth and success of NITR Chennai. I invite our dignitaries on the dais to lead the felicitation ceremony. I invite Dr. C.R. Nagendra Rao sir, professor who has completed 25 years of service in this institution. Congratulations, sir. We next invite Dr. G.A. Rati, Professor and Head Department of Electrical, Electronics and Communication Engineering, who has also completed 25 years of service. Thank you, dignitaries. We will now move to the MOU signing ceremony. Now, this ceremony marks a commitment to collaboration, innovation, and the pursuit of shared goals. To guide us through the ceremony, I invite Dr. Giridharan, Head Center for Rural Entrepreneurship and Development, to come forward and take over the session.
So good morning. Now we are signing MOU with Vailtech University.
NITO Chennai is very proud to have signed this memorandum of understanding with these institutions, fostering collaboration, support, and mutual academic achievement. Thank convocation. We are very glad to felicitate the Vice Chancellor of Vailtech University, Dr. Salivahanan sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now, beloved director will felicitate Dr. Karthikeyan sir, Director, III TDM, on the occasion of the MOU signed. Yeah. So now we move on to the award of the Master's Degree Certificate. This is a moment of great significance, a culmination of years of hard work, dedication, and academic achievement. Today, we gather not only to celebrate the 60th Institution Day, but also to honor the academic accomplishments of our graduating students of ME. These individuals have demonstrated exceptional commitments to their studies, and today we acknowledge their perseverance and intellectual prowess. To officiate this momentous occasion, I invite our dignitaries on the dais to distribute the certificates. So this is the batch 1, ME Infrastructure, Engineering and Management, batch 2019 to 21. I invite Deepika Ji, the first rank holder of the course, ME Infrastructure, Engineering and Management. The gold medal winner of the institute. I next call upon Mr. Abdul Aziz A. The next person would be Dharani S. Dinesh Kumar D. I request the students to please come in order. We next have Dinesh Kumar D. Haridharan G. Haridharan G is now receiving his degree. We next have Mr. Hari Prashant. Next, I invite Ms. Hemalata. Nehru Prasad VK will receive his certificate next. Praveen Kumar R. I next request Mr. Sendil Kumar, Mr. Sendil MS. Mr. Sendil MS. Ms. Sujata N. And Ms. Vishali K. Ms. Vishali K will receive her degree certificate now. We now move on to the batch 2 of the ME Infrastructure Engineering and Management students. I invite Mr. Sri Krishna B, the gold medal winner and the first rank holder. Next would be Mr. Dilip Kumar. Mr. Dilip Kumar P is receiving his degree certificate now. Mr. S. Jacob Emmanuel. Mr. Karthik Krishnan. Mr. Naveen Kumar H. Mr. Naveen Kumar. Ms. Parkavi S. Ms. Shivaranjani S. Ms. Shivaranjani S will receive her certificate now. Ms. Smriti Karthik. Ms. Smriti Karthik. Mr. N. Soundarajan. And Ms. Sweta R. Ms. Sweta R will now receive her degree certificate. Thank you, dignitaries. I request the students to receive all the other certificates, their mark sheets and other forms. Please contact Professor Dinesh Kumar and Professor Janardhanan after the event. Congratulations to each. I request all the graduates to please come to the dais batch wise. May I invite the batch 1 students now for a group photograph. You can come with your certificates. Batch 2 students, be ready. I request the batch 2 students to be ready. Congratulations to all the graduates today. You are certainly special, being the batch 1 of this institution. I now request the batch 2 students to quickly assemble. Congratulations to each and every one of our graduates. As you move forward, may the knowledge you've gained here at NITR Chennai serve as a strong foundation for all your future endeavors. Thank you. I request all the students to receive all their other certificates and forms after this events. Now let us close the forenoon session with a word of thanks from Professor Dr. Somasundaram, Head, Department of Mechanical Engineering, also the coordinator of the institution functions.
Our esteemed chief guest of this function, Professor Dr. M.V. Karthikeyan, Director, IIITDM Kanchipuram, beloved Chairman, Board of Governors, NIITR Chennai, Professor Dr. V.S.S. Kumar, most respected Director of our Institute, Professor Dr. Usha Naresh Madam, Professor Dr. G. Kulandevel, Head, Center for International Affairs, faculty, staff members, research scholars, PG students, and the members from press and media, and our dignitaries from the MOE institutes. We hereby extend a warm welcome to you all for the 60th Institution Day celebrations of our institute. And it's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this spacious occasion. And to begin with, we are extremely grateful to the chief guest of this function, Dr. M.B. Karthikeyan, Director, IIITDM, for accepting our invitation to be the chief guest in spite of his busy schedule. We thank you, sir, for delivering a motivational address and felicitating our faculty members and awarding degree certificates to our PG students. Thank you, sir. And then next, we thank our Honorable Chairman, Professor Dr. V.S.S. Kumar, who has consented to be the guest of honor and delivering an inspirational address. Sir, your visionary thoughts have always led to the strategic strengthening of our institute. Thank you, sir. And then we extend our profound gratitude to our director, madam, who has always motivated and supported us towards the smooth conduct of this function. Your able leadership and meticulous guidance have immensely led to the success of this function. Thank you, madam. We are highly indebted to the efforts put forth by the faculty, staff members of the various committees constituted for the conduct of the Institution Day functions, and the efforts put forth by our senior administrative officer and his team of admin accounts, and the entire team of estate maintenance, AC maintenance, vehicle maintenance, and the Department of Educational Media and Technology. The trainees guest house would be worth mentioning at this juncture. And we thank you all for your sincere efforts for rising to the occasion in spite of the havoc caused by the recent cyclone in Chennai. We thank you all. And finally, we thank our esteemed dignitaries from the MOE institutes, parents of our PG students for gracing this occasion. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I now request everyone to rise for the national anthem. Thank you all. I request all faculty members, the students and their parents to join us for lunch in the cafeteria. The afternoon session will be held at the seminar hall in the ground floor of Swami Vivekananda block at 2 p.m. I request all the students to assemble there by 1:45. I request the director madam to please join us for a group photo on behalf of the 60th Institution Day. I request all the faculty members.